The safety of knowledge versus the risk of the unknown. That is one of two talking points that I want to get into with today's poem. Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for another poetry discussion. This video will appear in two separate playlists here on the channel. Number one being the Emily Dickinson playlist, and number two being the poetry discussion playlist. Now, this is a poem that is appearing on the channel for the very first time. It is known as Their Height in Heaven Comforts Not, and it reads as such. Their height in heaven comforts not, their glory not to me. 'Twas best imperfect as it was. I'm finite, I can't see. The house of supposition, the glimmering frontier that skirts the acres of perhaps, to me, shows insecure. The wealth I had contented me. If 'twas a meaner size, then I had counted it until it pleased my narrow eyes. Better than larger values that show, however true, this timid life of evidence keeps pleading. I don't know. So in my opinion, the main talking point to take out of this poem is simply this: the known versus the unknown, and the finite versus the infinite. The known is finite. Now, everything finite might not be known, but if it is infinite, then it is certainly not known. So the known and the finite can go somewhat hand in hand, as well as the unknown and the infinite. If something is unknown, it may be infinite. We just don't know. This poem is something of an exploration of the idea that there is comfort in the known. There is safety in the finite. Even though it means that everything will end, it means that ending is known. This is something that we have to deal with every day, right? How many of us are absolutely content in our job? How many of us are absolutely content with where we live? Probably not terribly many, but we accept them. Some of us have undoubtedly lulled ourselves to life sleep by believing that we are content with our job, with our house, with our city, with wherever it is, whatever we have. We have convinced ourselves that we are content with what that is, when in reality, what it is comfort. You don't love your life, you're comfortable in it. Now, that's far from the worst place to be. It's far from a living nightmare to wake up and be contented. But is it all that you can do in this life? There's a large chasm between those two answers, I think. Do you enjoy what you have, and is it all that you could do? There is some question to this of responsibility. Are you really free to explore if you have dependents? Are you really free to explore if you are dependent? So there may be really a sliver of existence in which we can really afford to take all the risks that we might. And if we miss that window, then we have to work harder at different phases of life in order to reattain that sliver of risk-taking ability. But then it isn't really risk-taking, is it? In that case, instead of risk-taking, It's just mitigating disaster. I'm always inspired by these tales of people who have families and they quit their job to pursue their passion. Because, man, that can go very bad very fast. It can be downhill in a hurry. Think about it. Do your budget. How much money do you think you spend in any given month? And then divide the amount of money you have by that amount that you spend, and that's how quick you can go belly up. For most people, it's not many months. So to quit what you know for sure in order to attain the unknown and possibly infinite, taking your own reality into your hands, taking your family's reality into your own hands. It's a dangerous thing to do. People do it. People succeed. But those are the stories you hear. What about those people who quit their job to sell fancy shoelaces online and it never quite takes off? So these risks that we find on the day-to-day, they are the risks of our entire existence. It's easy, I think, to forget that. Easy to wake up and just go ho-hum through another day. You got through yesterday, not doing that extra little bit. You got through yesterday, not making that one little change. You got through yesterday, not acting on that one dream that you have, whatever dream it is, whichever dream it is, if there are multiple. You got through yesterday. It didn't kill you. And you didn't make a stride towards anything. So, when tonight comes, and you are so tired, you're living in the known. You're living in the finite. You have made the decision before not to write that poem that's in your mind, not to read that book you've always wanted, not to do whatever it is that you want to do. You've made that decision not to before. That is known, that is finite, that is comfortable. There's risk in bellying up to the bar and deciding to go. But the only risk to not, there's no risk in not doing it, because it means you don't have to do it, but it also means you'll never get the end result. Never, right? So that's one of the talking points, as inspirational, depressing, and otherwise moribund as that might have been. Here's another thing. Who is they, and how literal is heaven? Their height in heaven comforts not. Who is they? How literal is heaven? If we are taking this as one of Emily Dickinson's spiritual, religious type of criticism poems, then they in heaven could be any number of things. It could be God, it could be the Trinity, it could be angels, it could be Jesus and Mary. Mary was assumed to heaven. It could be the saints. It could be any number of things that is they in this poem. And heaven would be literally heaven. But if we were allowing ourselves to take this one step removed from the words that are on the page, heaven could be the good life. Whatever the good life is in my assumption of this poem, my reading of this poem would be whatever the good life is that life which is condoned by society. You got your house, you got your white picket fence, you got your 2.5 kids. That's the condoned life. You've got your career. You come home and you drink beer at night and you watch football on the weekends. That's the assumed life. The they, therefore, would be those people who have it. Now, in this line of reasoning, it becomes a little more obscure as to what the limitless is, as to what the unknown is versus the known. The known is comfortable, but kind of it's not. Because if what we're doing is we're flipping things on their head, and what this poem would be in that case is that the poem would be written from the standpoint of the outsider, of the outcast, of the quote unquote loser, because heaven is presumably good. This poem being written from the point of view of the outcast, of the loser, would mean that the known, therefore, becomes that which outcasted the speaker. So, you do not abide by societal norms. You are the speaker here. You are being looked down upon by their height in heaven. Those hoity-toits, those well-to-dos, they are looking down on you. You're a type of weirdo who does things like watch YouTube videos about poetry, right? That's kind of weird. What a weirdo are you? You are the one being looked down upon. The comfortable, in that case, becomes that which makes you strange. That which is off-putting about you. Probably, if you're here, just an assumption, being the literary type is part of that. So the comfortable, the finite in this poem then becomes, instead of the limited, it becomes the strangeness of the individual, which is quote unquote known, in that it is going to be repeated. So this becomes, after that, the speaker saying, look, there is this weird thing about me. I am a reader. I am a writer. I am the literary type that is looked down upon. But it's what I know, and I'm not going to change it for you. In that case, this poem becomes less about withering away the way that first reading, a more literal reading, might persuade us to believe. It becomes less about withering away and more of a poem about defiance. Look, you can look down on me from your well-to-do status. You can look down on me from your place in heaven. That doesn't matter to me. I don't care about that. You have what society deems to be the correct life. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. In fact, you can keep it. It looks nice enough, but it is not for me. It's a strange thing about Emily Dickinson's poetry that I believe, no matter, top of my head, maybe I'm wrong, top of my head as I'm thinking about it, I can't think of a single poem that you could read and not have an interpretation like this. I don't think there's an Emily Dickinson poem that cannot be interpreted as, no thank you, I'm going to do it my way. Or interpreted as, yeah, I mean, that's the way you're supposed to do it, but I don't care. It seems to me that almost every Emily Dickinson poem, now that I'm thinking, I did not come into this video expecting to talk about this, Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that there could be an interpretation of defiance in every one of Emily Dickinson's poems. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button to stick around for more literary content in the future. There's poetry every Monday, and I hope to have you back for the next one.